Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be here. I am excited actually. I'm very much excited. I wanted to talk about, well, today's conversation is about abuse in marriage. That's I would say, the heading of the testimony I want to give today. But mostly what I want to talk about is not the abuse itself, but I want to talk about the role I played. I think we focus a lot on what the other person has done, which they've done. But I want to bring a different perspective and just a different so that we can see things differently. I feel like sometimes when we look at things from one perspective, it becomes tiring, draining, and I feel like there's no growth in that. So, like I've said before, I was married, 20 years old, very young. I was married to a high school sweetheart. Everything was great. Everything, I don't want to lie, everything was great until we started fighting or started having arguments in the marriage. And then those arguments obviously led to physical abuse, which was something that was new to me, which is something I've never experienced before. And I honestly didn't know how to handle myself in that situation. So obviously we broke up. I think what stands out to me as well now as I'm talking about is this. We broke up after we had a huge fight where one day I decided to fight back. And I realized at that moment that one of us is going to die. One of us is going to die in this situation. And I don't want it to be me. Meaning if I don't want it to be me, I'll be the one doing the killing. It's just something I didn't want for myself. So eventually, thank God, we ended up separating, or actually divorcing, and my journey with God started. Now, I want to bring us back to this conversation because I feel like that's what most people don't want to talk about, or actually don't talk about, even though they know. So in my relationship with this guy, there were things that he did that were wrong in terms of abuse. I feel like there's no justification on why anyone should be abused in a marriage. All right. And there's certain roles that I played. Now, I'll tell you my role was that, first of all, I remember it like at the back of my head, was that I remember after the first incident where he slapped me or hit me, I couldn't believe it, right? So sometimes I think at that point I was reacting via trauma. I was acting via trauma. And my reaction was to provoke him. I say this because I don't think, in fact, no, even before the abuse started, I'm here. I talk a lot. And I have a very sharp tongue. So I say that, in fact, no, I don't have a sharp tongue. I used to have a sharp tongue. No longer that girl. I used to have a sharp tongue. And I knew that I had a sharp tongue at that time. And I would say things that I knew would get him to where I wanted him to be. Now I'm saying this emotionally. So I would do things that would provoke him to eventually do or to eventually pay attention sometimes to what I had to say. So you would take things to the extreme because you are expecting the next person to hear you out. So if I wanted to make myself known or wanted to make myself heard in the relationship due to the constant abuse, of course, I would also inflict another form of abuse, which was to instigate a fight or to provoke the next person, because I kind of obviously at this point knew how this other person would react. And, without a shadow of doubt, they would react the same way I would have anticipated them to react. I think the first time it happened, you kind of like in your corner, you can't believe it happened, da da da. The second or the third time, you kind of now stand out and say, Uba, who are you? Who do you think you are? You can do that to me. So now my tongue starts becoming more sharper than a double-edged sword. So I don't know why I'm laughing at this, because at the time it was all funny, but now thinking back, you start seeing that there's a lot that God had to work on with me personally. Now, going back to the testimony, was that I would provoke him, right? And I would say things, but like, who do you think you are? You know, I would say things to him like, you think you're a man, you know, you think you're a man, you think, you know, the conversations would lead to a point where I am, how can I say this? In Sutu, or I don't see him for nothing, because now he has done this to me. So now there's no respect whatsoever from me to him. And my behavior for someone who did not know what was going on, it seemed, it was out of this world. I was like, the people were like, why are you acting this way? And I would be like, no, because he would hit me. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, no, it's justified. It's justified that you're acting this way. And I never would tell people that I provoked him. I don't remember telling anyone in my phase of being a victim. I never told anyone that I would provoke him, that I would make sure or say things that would, you know, things about his past or things that I knew would tick him off and he would retaliate. I would never tell people what I would do. And I would always let that conversation just work itself out, because now he had already beat me or done something physically to me that I did not like, right? And this thing of provoking him, obviously it happened, but this is now me speaking from a perspective where God has shown my side on what I did. And I remember I would say all of those things. I remember how toxic I was. Sometimes I feel like I was not perfect. I did not deserve what happened to me, not by a long shot. But I'm trying to show you that even I was not perfect. Even I was not the saint I was putting myself out to be at that time. Because now he did this horrible thing of abusing me. No one ever asked the question, so what did you do? You know, I think sometimes when people ask the question, we become so defensive, as though people are saying we deserved this kind of treatment. But I remember sitting in my own corner or my own space with God, and he was saying to me, baby girl, there's something you need to know. And you also played a huge role in how things turned out. You played a huge role on how this person had behaved at some points, not every point, but at some points. And he started showing me my behavior towards this person, how I conducted myself, how I behaved, what I said, you know, things that are so hurtful, things that he said in confidence, or things that he said hoping I would, you know, as his wife, obviously, kind of like shield them or keep them to myself as a way of him saying, this is me, this is what I went through, this is me, this is my life. And I would use those things in arguments, and I would use those things to hurt him back, because now he would be, you know, he would have hit me. So I was justified to do that, right? So I remember God putting me through that whole process. Okay, so I started seeing things differently, and I started sitting with myself and saying, and being honest with myself and saying, hey, you know what, I will take responsibility for actually knowing that at some of these arguments I had provoked, and for those that I had instigated, I took full responsibility. Excuse me. And I said to God, please, I would appreciate if you taught me, if you teach me, because I'm realizing I'm not perfect. I'm realizing that even I have flaws, even I am toxic. Can you please work in me? And wow, that journey has been wonderful. That journey has been wonderful. I remember I repented. I went to God and I said, I'm sorry that I behaved in this manner. Yes, even though another person or even I thought it was justified at the time, now that I'm where I am spiritually, I'm starting to see that, you know what, things were actually not supposed to be this way. But because I laid out the foundation for them to be that way, it made it easy for me to kind of point fingers at everyone else but myself. And oh my God, I remember in that journey in my Christian faith, in that journey in my life, I remember God asked me to go and apologize. Now, me and this guy did not talk for so long. I think we didn't talk. There was no good communication between the two of us because, of course, of the way we broke up. And, you know, there's a lot of things happening. But I remember I messaged him on Instagram. And I said to him, hey, this is so-and-so and so, your ex-wife. I would really like to speak to you. But I'm realizing that you're quite busy because, you know, he was busy. I could see that he was busy. I can see that you're quite busy. But if you have time, could I please speak to you? And he responded back by saying, yes, you can call me. This is my number. What's the matter? And I said, no, I would like to really speak to you, but I would really like to speak to you, you know, when you've settled, when there's no one else around you. I really want us to have a conversation. And I think he said, oh, that again is going to have to wait because he was really busy. He explained that he was busy with some project. And I was like, oh my God, this can't wait. So I took it upon myself to write him a long message, basically apologizing. You know, I told him, I'm so sorry about what had happened, how things turned out. I'm sorry for my part in the breakup because for the most part of the relationship, I blamed him as though I didn't, you know, I was an absent party. I apologize, not for what he did to me. I apologize for the role I played into him reacting a certain way. Now, I don't want you guys to get me wrong. And a lot of people would say, you were supposed to react that way because he was the one abusing you. Yes, probably. At the time, yeah, that's what I thought as well. But growing in my Christian faith, I started to realize that, you know, I'm responsible for how I react. You know, even when you get to heaven, I'll be judged according to what I do, not what the other person did to me. So that for me stood out for me in my own character, that I had a character flaw that was, you know, that the abuse brought forward. You know, the abuse brought forward this character trait for Lebo and said, oh, Lebo is a person who's, you know, sharp on the tongue. So this thing which is abuse brought that out of me. And therefore I reacted in a certain way. So my repentance was for my reaction, and realizing that my reaction can be detrimental not only to my faith, but detrimental also because sometimes I can do that and trigger another person who's not him. And I end up in a casket because I really cannot control how other people, I cannot control how other people receive me or receive what I say, but I can control how I react about what they say to me, right? So I remember writing an essay, long ass message, and I said to him, hey, I'm sorry for my part in the relationship that I played to get it where it was. I do remember the days where I provoked you. I do remember the days when I called you names. I do remember the days when I said this, and I had to name all of those things. I said this and this and this and this to you, and I'm sorry. I know that eventually you did certain things that you did not maybe want to do, but you did them anyway based off the fact that even I was reacting in a certain way. Now, may I add, we were very young, 20 years old, we were very young. I don't even think I was in control of even how I thought. Honestly, my emotions were all over the place. We were very young. So that apology for me, even till today, I still mean it. We spoke, and he said he's so grateful that I spoke to him about this conversation, and that I see my part in whatever that I needed to do. Oh my God, it was such a lovely conversation, right? It was a lovely conversation. And I said to him, yes, whatever he did to me, I have forgiven him. I have forgiven him. This does not mean that whatever he did was now nullified because I admitted to my part, but it meant that I at least am releasing him, or even me as well, from the burden of carrying, some hurt, because I really wanted to heal. I think that God also wanted me to heal, to be able to have this conversation and be able to co-parent, because at that time we were not even co-parenting, we were not talking, nothing was happening. And yeah, so I apologized. I felt so good. It was so good. It was so good. I remember after that conversation, honestly to God, our relationship between me and him as parents to our daughter improved so much. It improved so much. Wow, it improved so much. Till today, it improved so much. I don't know how to explain it, but it improved so much. They are now not a person that when I think about, I'm like, they are now a friendly person, or they are now a person who I'm able to call and say, hey, this and this about the child, this and this about the child. Basically, what I'm trying to get to about the relationship, or me realizing my part, I don't want to speak for him, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but for me realizing my part released me from a lot of anger. It released me from a lot of resentment that I had towards him. If anything, now I started understanding that, hey, you know what I say is also important. It's not just how the other person reacts. What I say also is very important. That's why God had to work on my character. Like I said, I had a sharp tongue. I had, past tense. It still comes up every now and then. Oh, God's grace is just amazing. It still comes up every now and then. But I think what stands out, or what's important to me, is that even when that happens, God has the grace to say, that thing is coming out again. Excuse me. That thing is coming out again. And then I, revert back. I go back to my closet and say, I repent, Lord. I realize, because nothing good has ever come out of my sharp tongue. That is something that also I want to say, is that nothing good has ever come out of that. That's why I saw that it was a problem. Nothing good came out of it. I would hurt people's feelings, I would provoke other people. Other people won't have the energy to come hit me, but they would distance themselves from me, meaning I'm losing out on relationships that, were supposed to be, good relationships to me. But because I was with this tongue, it was so sharp that I destroyed anything that came its way. I couldn't see anything else. I couldn't build anything with that type of tongue. I couldn't, there was nothing I could say that a person would listen to without being offended, if that makes sense. And I knew I didn't want to offend people. I knew I didn't want to intentionally hurt anyone, meaning that I needed to work on my character. I needed to work on myself. Now, not just me working on it, but with the help of the Holy Spirit, right? So I just wanted to give my perspective on my journey of abuse. It was hectic. It was really hectic. It was hectic. It was really bad. It was really bad. And I think that sometimes the fact that I'm not diving into it, I don't want you guys to focus on that specifically, but I really want you guys to focus on the recovery. And the recovery being, I needed to see where the role I played. I needed to, acknowledge my part in the falling of the relationship. I needed to now take responsibility for my own actions. And me taking responsibility for my own actions has led me to a space where I was able to, what can I say? It led me to a space where I was able to, reconcile myself back to God, but also see things from another person's perspective. Because if you were to ask him, he was probably going to say, she did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I told him all of these things that I did, and remember when I told him my role in all of this, he couldn't believe it, because it was what he was saying the whole time, right? Even in the relationship, but you provoke, stop doing this, stop doing that. I don't like it. And I used to do it because I felt like it was triggering him. Why not? Let's do it. And he would react the way he reacted. And obviously it turned out to be the worst case scenario, where it turned to abuse, which was something that was very, very, very unfortunate that it happened. But now, 10, 15, how many years it's been? 10 or 15, I'm not sure, but it's around that. It's been that long. I'm so happy that we are in a good space. We are teaching our children. I advocate so much for non-abusive relationships. I don't like them. Emotion ngomlomo izolungisa ngomlomo. What was ruined with speaking would be fixed with speaking. I hope that is right. Yeah, I hope that is right. But so I want to say that's what I wanted to say. That's the testimony I wanted to give you guys, and I'm hoping that ladies or anyone who's in my position, if you know that you're provoking your partner, if you're aware, if you're self-aware that you're provoking this person, refrain from provoking that person. If you know there are things that you're doing to try and get a reaction out of someone, refrain, because sometimes they're not going to end well. They're sometimes not going to end well. Now, this is not me saying people should stay in those abusive relationships. No, don't. But all I'm saying is, do not act innocent when you know you're not. Give your life over to God. Give your problems over to God. He will show you. He will show you. Trust me. He will give you the grace to show you when something is not okay. When you do something that is not okay, he will have the grace to show you. And he will teach you. Not only will he show you the wrong that you've done, he will teach you on how to do what is right. He will teach you. So basically now, I'm able to have a healthy relationship with him, and any other relations that I've had after that, after my encounter with God and him helping me throughout this, was that now I was able to say, if I get angry, I don't have to hit anyone. It doesn't come to me. I don't have to hit anyone. I don't have to provoke anyone. I just keep quiet, or I just, react differently from how I used to react, because now I know better. I know better. Not because I'm weak, no, but because I know better. And because I know that usually we're not fighting against the flesh or what we can see, but we're fighting against the spirit or the spirits, right? So I hope my testimony was a help to anyone. Get out of a abusive relationship. Get out of it. Give yourself some space. I'm not saying divorce. I'm saying get out of it. Get yourself into a safe space. Heal. Speak to God. Seek God. He will give you a perspective on what's happening in your life. Then once that is done, he will also tell you what to do. Because that's what I had to do. That's what I had to do. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here to tell the story. So, all I'm saying is that I hope this testimony is going to be a help to anyone who needs it. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. See you on the next video. Bye.